so we can go and vibe.
Somewhere we can go and vibe. Just together we could get a little lost in time. Oh baby, there ain't nothing holding you up. So come along, I know there's somewhere we can go and vibe. I know there's somewhere we can go and vibe. Just together we could get a little lost in time. Oh baby, there ain't nothing holding you up. So come along, I know there's somewhere we can go and vibe. I know there's somewhere we can go and vibe. Just together.
Hello, we are Yamoria and welcome to the Queen's Fortress first ever Women's Month special. Guys, we are so honored to have two powerhouses in the South African poetry industry sitting in the fortress with us today.
So we have Mokgathi, who is a radio presenter, cultural activist. She's a poet and a performer, as well as the co-founders of one of the biggest powerhouses in poetry right now, Hear My Voice.
We also have Mutinta Simelane, who is a spoken word artist. She's a voiceover artist, the presenter, a digital strategist, a project manager. The list goes on and on and on. She was also the only spoken word artist who was invited to the Global Citizens Concert in 2018 to hold the poetry flag up high.
We are so excited to have these two women. We'll be speaking all things women, poetry, industry, as well as how we find the balance in all of this.
Yeah, and playing silly games. It's really going to be amazing, guys. Let's head in. Hello and welcome again to the Queen's Fortress with Yamoria. We are here with Mutinta Simelane and MoAfrika Mokgathi.
When was the last time you experienced nostalgia?
I mean, every morning.
Every morning? A superpower you wish you had?
So, to be invisible.
Yeah, that's the
I'll
best
take
one.
Like,
You could change careers, sorry, yes?
No,
Are you judging the kids?
no, yeah, well, yeah, you know. I mean, sometimes you're just dripping and then you have a breather, you come down.
If you could change careers, what would you do?
Oh my goodness. I want to listen to my father become a lawyer or a doctor.
Good choice.
Do you believe in fate?
I do.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Girl, please. Shucks, I actually don't know. I haven't thought about it. I'm going to very pretentiously say my freckles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do?
Because there's nothing else I can do. I don't have anything to fall back on.
Yeah. Plan A only.
Yeah. That's how we do it.
Which song do you associate with your childhood?
Oh my goodness. Nelly's Nellyville album. So let's go with, actually just any track
whole
from,
album.
yeah.
Okay. Which language do you wish to learn?
French, and to be fluent.
Yeah.
I mean, the African continent, French. Yeah. Much as I don't,
For some reason, I thought you'd say Swahili.
Well, Swahili, yes, but also you can get away with French. Most African countries speak French.
That's true. That's true.
And many countries speak French.
Amen.
What does the younger you need to know about you today?
Oh man. It's so crazy because you're asking me things that I'm grappling with right now. So I think it'd really be a story about belonging, and not fitting in, and everything that's weird about you will make sense one day. Yeah.
If you could be anything on a painting, what would it be?
On a painting, I would say the borderlines, because they give whatever that is being painted a form of belonging.
Do you mean the borderlines of a country?
No, or maybe I didn't get that question. On a painting.
On a painting, if you're any part of a painting. Oh, the actual borderlines of the painting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, so the borderlines of a painting, because like, for instance, the painting there or the artwork that is on the wall, you know, it is just a frame. But should you add the borderlines, it becomes somehow fuller. So
yeah. Okay, have you ever broken a bone?
No, and I'm so jealous. I want to be what? No.
our show, gin or wine?
Ish. Well, I started drinking alcohol quite late, and it was wine. Then it was gin later. So you can't make me choose my babies. So I don't go anywhere else.
I'm emotional about this thing.
Gin always, gin
All day.
Yes. Oh my goodness, already, thank you.
Already.
Oh, okay.
So we're sitting on the Queen's Fortress with two black women who are South African poets, and I think that's one thing we all have in common, right?
Yeah.
What has your experience been in a black woman's body as a poet in South Africa?
That's hectic. Because of you must. South Africa forces, or anywhere in the world, but especially in South Africa, forces you as a woman to see yourself as a spectator, for you to feel some of the other things, or to sort of like trigger your body to feel certain things. I'm so fortunate that I can be able to suppress pain, or just if I've experienced something bad, or I had a fight with someone, I can completely shut it down. So that is my point of view of answering this question. But South Africa. Yo, man. Like, it's so real. Yeah, it's like it hurts everywhere, Every day. So it's also hard to pinpoint something. But I just suppress things. And when it triggers, that means it had hit me the most.
Okay.
But I think coping mechanisms are important in our space. Do you have any, Mutinta?
So I've spent quite a lot of time in coaching.
Is this life coaching?
Well, business, which kind of is life, right? Because it's about how you conduct yourself and your observation of self while you're doing anything, right? Because we understand that emotions are the predisposition for any action, right? So I think that's really the only practice that I carry. I'm very aware of the tension that I carry in a certain moment. If my heart starts racing, homie, I'm going to be cussing. So it's really about just observing myself a lot. But I mean, to your previous question about South Africa and being a poet and being black, the reason I actually threw the question at you.
Oh, so you saw that?
It was intentional. Yeah, but it's really because I'm not South African, right? And I don't want to speak for South Africa.
So you are South African?
Yes.
Please.
But I mean, for a very long time, it's been very hard to identify as South African and to be accepted in the spaces. So for your opinion to be valid in the space,
You must be one of us.
Exactly. But that also speaks now to the whole thing of MoAfrika being a South African who feels the same way I feel as an outsider, right? So there's always a reason for you to be an outsider, actually, in this space. And I think the othering comes with just being a woman, actually.
You mentioned in one of your interviews that you had recently that you have Zambian parents, you were born in Botswana, and now you live in South Africa, which you have for many years, and you find that you fit in none of these spaces. What is your coping mechanism with that? Like being rejected by so many nations, which you share such an intricate part with, like how do you cope with that? What is your coping mechanism with that idea of you?
Well, it's also about really understanding the spaces. So I understand why each country would reject me. So Zambia is an extremely conservative country. They're not ready for a voice like mine, to call a voice like mine their own. South Africa is a country that's going through a lot of teething and a lot of political change and a lot of realizing and actualizing and taking accountability for a lot of problems. So they wouldn't be ready to accept someone from the outside as one of their victories. So it's really about understanding why each space would reject you and understanding what you stand for and continue to do that. I'm not going to back down because of anyone. And like I said in that same interview, I've had aunties and uncles that I have left them in tears. I've left them in tears because I am at peace with this thing. I understand this thing. I've thought about it for a long time. I wouldn't speak about anything I don't understand. And I just wish they would come to me with that as well. Think about what you're about to say.
They're very hard. A huge part of belonging, being South African or where we're from, is language. And I feel like this conversation comes up so many times, especially in the poems you write. So in Africa, you use your home language. Speak.
Well, I try to,
In the singing that you put in your music as well, it's very African and tribal. And what is the importance of that for you in the poems that you write?
Well, I mean, it took me a long time to actually release my work, my book, my debut book. And especially if you decide that you're going to be a writer. When I teach poetry, that once you've decided that you want to be a writer, the next thing that follows is the language that you want to write in. And make sure that you have enough vocabulary to actually, express, and articulate whatever that you want to articulate. So for me, I mean, I grew up in Mamelodi mix masala, I was fortunate to be raised in a household where we, like Sepedi, it's the language. And not Sepidor, but Sepedi, and I would see my grandfather whiling away time reading a Sepedi novel, which is unheard of. But for me to document my work, I wanted it to live longer for the coming generation. And living in South Africa, 11 official languages, and you switch on television, is English, or it's Nguni languages. And why Nguni languages are so dominated? Because of most of the Nguni concentrated spaces in South Africa used to be countries. So they have that stronghold, And unlike me, which, I mean, Sepedi is still in South Africa regarded as a dialect of Sesotho, So it's frustrating. So I just wanted to say, this is my language. If they can say it's part of the 11 official languages, I want to just rubber stamp that in my work, and hence I'm using the code mixing, code switching, that I'm not far away from the English people and I am getting closer to the Sepedi speaking people. So, yeah.
How many languages are you fluent in? Because you only write in English.
I only speak English.
Where would you take that very difficult and I think very ostracizing conversation of, if you are foreign to our country and you want to be accepted by our country, why don't you learn our languages?
Well, I think there's a lot of psychology behind that as well. So I've spent a lot of time, first of all, not trying to fail in school. So I can speak Afrikaans, right? Okay. But that's not something people want to hear on the street, right? I can understand Zulu very well. But because I don't speak it, people think that they can speak about me and I don't know. But I try, and I'm just afraid of making mistakes because of what those mistakes have looked like in the past. So the reaction of the people, it hasn't been like oh no, Mutinta, you're actually supposed to say, it's this whole laughing thing, and then they call Banba and tell them, hey, say this, exactly. So it hasn't been a welcoming experience. I would love to have a safe space to learn the language, but that doesn't exist as yet. So I think that the judgment of someone who doesn't speak their mother tongue and maybe even doesn't choose to speak their mother tongue is actually supposed to be a conversation as opposed to an ostracizing.
Okay. Yeah. So if you had a safe space and if you felt that the people would accept you with your flaws in the language, obviously because it's not yours, you'd be more willing.
Absolutely.
I've never thought of that. I've always wondered what the reason is for not learning a language of the country.
Yeah, it could be many things as well. So I think, especially being a married woman, right? In your culture, in your South African culture, the whole thing of being like a very present wife in the house, whatever the case may be, language is actually one of my least concerns. Like,
Exactly. Well, I think maybe also because of we don't have like English is the lingua franca in South Africa, so she can still survive without learning isiZulu. It's not like if you don't know isiZulu, you won't get a job.
I'm on the same page as you because my father's Tsonga, my mother's Xhosa. I don't speak either. So being in Joburg and growing up in the suburbs in white schools and like that, English is the only language I can write in. And I feel like the conversation has grown tired because who are we supposed to get the language from?
Exactly. And also considering, for example, with my parents, my father was an orphan from a very young age. Education saved his life, right? So all he understands is the power of English in his space and in his context. So he starved us of our mother tongue in hopes that we'd have a better life. So we wouldn't be the child who's stuck in South Africa speaking Tonga. Because what are we going to do? What more is going to talk to? Exactly. So it's a very sore thing to have to like go through and explain over and over. So, I mean, you take on an arrogant response because you get it often as well. You get it often.
And we need to remember that our parents acknowledge English as progress.
Yeah. Well,
because if they don't give you that language, where did that hit?
it's real. It's so real. Yeah, no, the missionaries. No, like they accomplished their mission because of the. If you must learn the language of the master so that you can understand the instructions. And here we are. Here we are.
That was hectic. Okay, you said a powerful word. You said document. What is your story? When you're long gone, what has MoAfrika documented? What is written about her?
Yo. That I worked the ground and I would love to leave a fertile ground.
Yeah.
Who's Mutinta Simelane?
Yeah, I guess it would be the greatest unknowing because I'm in every space and I'm in every space doing extremely well. So there's a purpose for each space that I'm
Thank
in.
you for acknowledging that. Like, we never sit as women and say, look, man, I'm damn good at my job.
I'm so sorry, wait, what?
Let's add to that. We're gonna play, Jenny. I think the biggest part of being woman is motherhood and being woman and being compared to other women and being black and celebrating yourself. So we're gonna play a little motherhood woman type game.
I was never asked about this.
Shots. Okay.
Wait,
so
you didn't explain.
to type yourself in, you say your name and then I'll ask you. Thank you. And then I'll ask you yes and then you answer. Right? So it's just 7 easy questions.
Okay, right? Tag in with your name.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
what you're trying to answer.
Okay.
Okay, question 1. Okay, so question 1. Which of these organs physically grows during pregnancy? Your liver, your brain, or your stomach?
The mixer.
What kind of sabotage is this?
No, Mutinta was the answer. Mutinta gave me a hint earlier. So Mutinta is the answer.
This is sabotage.
So you said physically
Physically, yes.
It's your stomach.
No, it's your brain.
Oh,
Mutinta, one down.
that's not an easy question.
No.
We're not here to be easy.
But you said easy question.
I was scared. I had a feeling it was the brain, but okay.
You felt it,
Wow.
yeah? Go with your guys.
Rats.
Okay, question 2. True or false, the average height of a woman in South Africa is 1.6 centimeters.
MoAfrika, yes.
No, false. False. It's 1.5.
I knew it was short.
So I'm tall according to average.
I'm not sure.
I'm 160.
South Africa's got short people, guys.
It does. It does.
Yeah, we do.
It's just joking the guy.
Why don't you answer this question?
I mean, you had to have your chance of something.
Okay, the next question. What is the Guinness World Record of the most children born to one mother? Is it 17, 69, or 33?
Mutinta 33?
No.
69.
She gave birth to 69.
Okay, next question.
Oh, God bless her.
In what timeline?
Where did you find the time?
It must have been like multiple.
Maybe a couple of decades, and there's twins and triplets. And
Yeah. Okay. The first woman president in Africa is from which country? Ethiopia, Liberia,
MoAfrika.
Botswana.
Liberia.
yes, you could not have said MoAfrika and not get it right.
They are snapshots.
Mutinta, face yourself. We are going for
Okay,
a stop sign here.
Okay.
What is the percentage of population of women currently in South Africa?
Okay.
Is it 37.5? Is it 51.1? Or is it 66.3?
MoAfrika, the third one.
66.
I go Africa. You 51.
I thought we are greater than men, but you know, Daniel then.
No, why people make it seem like it's a 50-20?
Why do they take our husbands in here?
There's more. No, there's more women than men.
Yes.
51% just.
But the margins are not
1%.
that crazy.
Yes,
Doesn't make
yes.
sense.
So this is a fallacy. But
No, they just call it being ratchet. That's all.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
we must stop it.
Okay, last question, and this one is like an open question. Whoever's closest gets the point.
Okay.
How many women are mentioned in the Bible?
Approximately. So you're both going to give us a number and whoever's closest does not lose.
Women in the Bible.
I'm named in the Bible.
14.
Okay.
I would say 50.
You are closer.
You are
Actually,
closer.
137. So Mutinta, take a shot.
I'm
Okay, so we're gonna head into our song for the day. It's by a woman we've interviewed a couple times and she's just absolutely wonderful. It's Laura and the song is called Anidini. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Summer days aren't so sentimental. Heavy traffic on the freeway, going nowhere but the deep end, yeah. Summer days are so rudimental. Just the other day we meant something. He turns around, now he's saying nothing, no. I'm getting tired of the way he picks and drops me, holds and leaves me high, whoa. Not anymore, no, no, no. Hangiti, loco ongi pakona manje. Hangiti, Jo. Hangiti, loco ongi pakona manje. Hangiti.
That was Anidingi by Lolo Sky, and we're still having our Women's Month special here on the Queen's Fortress with the Amoria. We are here with Mutinta Simelane and MoAfrika wa Mokgathi. You got it right. So you are so many things. In fact, both of you. You are just powerhouses working.
What?
You're a writer, you're an author, you're a translator, curator. What else is it that you do? Arts cult adjudicator, you're a radio presenter, content producer. Mutinta also, it's madness.
TEDx speaker, spoken word artist, forward writer, this and that. You guys carry all these titles on your
Project
shoulders.
manager, digital strategy. What is this? How will you carry these titles?
Oh, she's looking.
And now we're looking at each other for how?
I don't know. I think it's just really about adapting because, adapt or die, that's how we're living right now.
Simple swim.
Yeah. But I mean, there's also just like the reality with me specifically where I'm very good financially, numbers-wise, administratively, very strong, a very good proactive thinker and really good at solving problems, right? So I needed to find industries that allowed that. And that was basically project management and digital. And then there's always been the writing. So that's how I balanced it all. The rest is
Finding your strengths and just capitalizing on them.
monetizing them.
Always. How are you carrying all of this here?
Well, because it's just a spider web, really. Everything connects. And like I said, I don't have anything to fall back on. And it's plan A, plan A, plan A. So
My favorite thing about you, every time you go and perform or you have you speaking somewhere, you always say my office for the day.
yes, because it is, an office for the day. Should you ask me if I'm a poet, I would say I'm more than a poet. I create space for poetry. Am I this? I'm more than that. So it has happened. I'm fortunate, that I become more of what would be just a money stream.
Yeah.
I always see money possibilities everywhere I go, but also knowing that I'm working for the people. So I'm just passionate about working for the people. So it's no longer work, but it's just you are serving and it's for greater purpose.
And with you mentioning that you see money in everything, like every space I've ever been in with you, money comes up. You speak about book me, let me know when there's the next thing, buy my book. Like you're always putting yourself in the right position with people to make sure that, hey man, whenever you have this type of thing, I'm your person. And I appreciate that about you so much because it's also taught me that you don't wait for people to invite you, you invite yourself.
Oh,
You throw yourself in their face and say, hey.
that's how you kick doors. You must be an initiator. I think that's one thing that they don't tell, just a handful of those who go to varsity to study the arts, They just teach them the craft. They don't teach them the business side. And not even only that, they don't teach them to to initiate.
Mm.
You're supposed to wait for opportunity.
Yo, wait for the
They
game.
must wait for the call.
Oh.
And my dad always says, until they can't do anything else but accept you.
Right.
You spoke about places for poetry, and both of you guys own the biggest brands in poetry, right? It's Word and Sound.
They own the biggest brands.
They are working behind the biggest brands.
Yeah. It is. You guys mustn't sleep on yourselves. Mutinta is a part of Word and Sound team, and MoAfrika is Hear My Voice. So I want to ask, what would you guys borrow from each other's brands? When you look at the Poetry Bee Fund that they have running right now, and you guys with the Word and Sound Digital Slam and the reviews and how you're running that, what do you think you could borrow from these brands that you work with?
I say consistency, man. I mean, Word and Sound came to be when people thought that poetry is dying in South Africa. Like, you know, and they just proved that it doesn't have to be a space. Because one would think of a poetry session and they would pair it with a space. So you would think of what is, like, there was just a big space in Joburg where when you think of Joburg, you think of that particular space. I forgot about it now.
Horror Cafe.
Yes, Horror Cafe. So when you think of poetry in Pretoria, you are thinking of the State Theatre. When you're thinking, so it has always been associated with space. But then when Sound comes and say, we are taking the poetry and this brand into these spaces. So we are no longer confining in these spaces. And they've been consistent, you know. Same thing with what is happening now with COVID. They are continuing. They're not saying, okay, this venue is closed, but we are saying, let's take this poetry where it can be placed. So, and they've been consistent. So,
All day.
Yeah.
Everyone. Mutinta, being part of Word and Sound, what do you think the brand can borrow from Hear My Voice?
Yeah, I think Hear My Voice has a humility and a patience with a lot of stakeholders that we had long given up on, and seeing that it pays off. So, you know exactly what I'm speaking about. I don't know what to go there. I know there were stakeholders who I honestly thought were actually just saying that they were interested in supporting poetry as a box ticking exercise, that they weren't actually interested. And I think that the quality of your exchange programs as well is definitely something that should be borrowed. I think a lot of these organizations come into South Africa with the superhero complex where we're here to save you and your bad poetry. And they have no idea about the quality of writing that we have here. We could put our writers against the best in the world and they will still see flames, you know? So I think also, maybe the rest of Africa is doing us bad because Shem, have you been? It's been, look, especially with these organizations where, especially like the UK, where they go into like countries that were once, the British were once there. We're not being represented well as African writers and African poets, you know. And I don't know if it's the organization selection or whatever the case may be, but when South Africa comes in, because of what they've seen before, they don't believe that we can do what we're going to do. That's it's a whole thing. So I think that's one of the biggest things. The quality of your exchanges and definitely your patience.
We'll take that. But we're kicking doors. I think just kick that door.
Yeah, no shame.
I think we've been stepchildren of the literature umbrella for the longest time. And we are no longer apologetic. So sometimes
do you know what they call this in Grahamstown? The squatter camp of literature.
Imagine. No poetry.
The what? Squatter camp of literature.
Imagine.
Sorry, MoAfrika.
No, but like.
You said the stepchildren of literature. No, it's where? We're a squatter camp.
So yeah, we are
not even a township. We are
bulldozing the squatter camps. We are building downstairs. Just have to, you know. I think also not being scared to start from ground.
Absolutely.
I think we all expect that there should be an industry built for us and there should be all these gigs coming. Where are you building to say, hey man, there is nothing. Let me build from scratch.
I mean, perfect example, you know, is the comedy industry in South Africa. Like, you know, like they have worked the ground. They have really worked the ground. It's not by Muti or whatever, but you know, some started not so good, you know, and they pushed. I mean, there are people who still think that, you know, Trevor Noah is not funny.
Yeah.
But where is he now?
Yes, regardless of your opinion.
Where is he now? But yeah, also it's about trusting our voices as South Africans. And I have embodied that so much that we have good stories to tell. Excuse this thing here, ANC. But we have good stories to tell, and we must just believe in our voices. And see our work fit to be exported around the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, when you are that one person who's got the opportunity to be on any stage, don't forget to say there are many of us.
Yes.
Don't forget, we're not here alone. There are many of us.
Speaking of that, we had a conversation about your experience at the Global Citizen and how you were trying to say we are a community and there's not only one person. So how do you do that without like ruining your own opportunities? How do you bring people along without sabotaging yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I can't really speak about the politics in the internet.
Yeah, I know.
But you're right. I think the intention was really to put the community on the platform.
I know that.
But because the organization didn't have the room for that with the programming, that wasn't permitted. But at the end of the day, there are people in New York, in the New York office. We've got the manager of the Roots, who now knows of 20 other poets and me because of my efforts and the conversations I had when I was talking about the Global Citizen Festival. So at the end of the day, don't rob yourself of bread and butter. Right? But find the opportune moment to say, Wuti, there are many of us. And the thing is, you may not fill every box there is to be filled as a performer, right? I do not do vernacular poems. Here's in MoAfrika. She may not do this. There's another person. There's a certain subject matter that someone handles very delicately and beautifully. Let's call them Mutle Mutibe. You know, just stop thinking about yourself sometimes and think about the community, because I promise you, one day Muke is going to be in a room where he needs you.
But how do we build that infrastructure where there's space for everyone?
Because I think poets have gotten into the mentality of, hey man, there's not much going on. When I have something, this is for me.
So how do we build this type of
industry?
Well, I've never seen myself as one.
Yeah.
And every time I know that there are certain people who I've brought in the space and they've become bigger than me. And that made me so happy that they see the value of what we are building, you know? And they would call me for a gig and I'd be like, it would be nicer if there were 5 of us on stage, you know? You know, this month is a Women's Month. Maybe I can bring 5 more women and, you know, we can just share the little bit that you are giving. That's how it has been for me all the time. Even if it's not just me, I would say, I have a woman basis to that I can bring on.
Exactly.
It has never been about myself, you know? Or when a client comes through and is like, do you have another event coming? Because there's another poet that can fit to the topic that you are planning on. Never think about yourself. And I go back to refer to the comedy industry. They would have an opening act. We are scared. Poets want to be famous. We want to be heard.
To say, I am opening for you.
The comics are doing it. They would call like Mutinta, please come open for me. You know, but we know you will be the main person. We don't have that. We don't have that. And this industry that we want to build, it won't be strong the way we would like to see it because of we see each other's competition.
Absolutely,
Competition.
But speaking back to what you said, we shouldn't also forget MoAfrika that there are people who have the 5 people they will call every time. So they have.
I know those 5 people.
So we're stuck with people as well in the industry who have created some very deep roots, and those roots are beautiful with certain clients. But they've got their 5 that they circulate around. But I mean, the game is really about sticking close to the people who have integrity and honesty about this thing, and making sure that you don't end up hating the wrong people in this game. Because some of the messages I get, I'm just like, no, it's not me. You know, it's not me.
I'm not part of the 5.
Can I wish I was part of the 5, guys? But yeah, it's scary. It's scary, and both sides exist. both us who are just like, come, let's do this together, let's pray. And then the other ones were like, nah, just me and my squad. We're gonna make it.
We're gonna shine.
And it's so pity because it's almost all art codes that there's a certain top 5.
Yeah.
Whether it's poetry, whether it's music, whether it's publishing,
Dancing.
Dancing.
Oh,
There's always a top 5.
Yeah.
So I think from a Hear My Voice perspective, we are really trying to dismantle the idea of the top 5. You enter in a room and they're saying, poets, here's a space. We don't even mention the top 5.
We don't know what you're about.
Give a man,
But now,
Speaking of the top 5 also, right? Let's not lie. Men. Even if you look at the digital slangs, even if you look at the word and sound stage, generally there'll be 1 or 2 women standing on stage along with the top 5.
Yeah.
Generally, if we're looking at everything, performances, people, is it that men will argue that they put themselves out there? They're applying. They're waking up early to sign up for Word and Sound. They're applying for their Poetry Relief Fund. Then you'll have women who are looking at in another perspective of maybe we're not heard. We are here, you're not seeing us.
Okay.
Where would you take it?
Well, I mean, it's so real, man. By the time a guy wakes up, put on a t-shirt, before a girl leaves the house, dishwasher, the guru, every that shirt before Tamai. Then you must prepare. By the time the list is full, and this is not only about the open mic level, but this is it's an array. It heads there. To be a woman in this country and everywhere in the world, there are just so many stumbling blocks before you can actually get to the finishing line. You still have to take the kids to school. He can still do it, but he would say, no, I have an earlier meeting, and then you must be left in the house with the children, and you must drive them to school, or you must do whatever. But there are just so many stumbling blocks. You can be a president of a country, and they will still say this and this and this. Why are you leaving now? Finish this first. They can even, but children can even call you during a meeting and say, what can we eat? They have been calling that. Like, these are facts. That we go through all of this thing. So when you see a Mutinta and doing it, just say like, that woman is boss. When you see a woman succeeding, that woman is boss.
Amen. I love that. I think on the back end, watching women sign up and seeing the consistency of the female voices coming through to the stage, I always ask myself, like, what is the difficulty, right? And I think back to a conversation about narrative authority, right? Where women are deemed as whiny and constantly complaining, nagging when you address certain topics, right? And then men have the freedom where they can even write about your story. And their story.
I don't want to talk about that.
Exactly. Right? Let's not get into it. But the reality of the situation is that women are feeling closed out of things that they really want to talk about. There's a lot of criticism that comes through, guys. Like, whenever you do a TV thing, you're either getting inboxes that they love what you're doing, or you're getting all sorts of other crazy stuff that people are saying about your nerve and your audacity. Like I said in that other interview that you mentioned earlier, I've literally had people come into my home and tell me I'm a bad child for the views that I hold and the views that I express in my poetry. In my home, literally, right? So people have a lot of energy and effort, and they spend a lot of it breaking down other people. And there's certain people who just don't have, I don't have the energy for this. And I think the slam space does allow people to say a lot of stuff and not be held accountable for their judgments and their opinions. And I don't think that this is always the safest space. So I'm not going to force anybody into it. If we have fewer females signing up, we have fewer females signing up.
That's why I always like that review we had at the end of Word and Sound, where you sit on the stage and people say, hey, you said this, I'm holding you accountable for that. In front of all these people who wrote this poem. I really appreciated that, because we had a lot of nonsense that happened there, and people being called out, and I think it was beautiful. And one of the conversations that also came up is men writing as women. Where do you stand with that? I mean, I think
I'm not an alcoholic, but if I wanted to write a poem about an alcoholic, I mean, it would fly, right? And they argue that some of the bigger poets have poems about things they've never experienced, being homeless, being this, being that. Yeah. And then when it comes to the poets who maybe aren't as recognized, then it becomes a fight of, oh man, how are you writing about that?
Yeah. I think we must also remember that there's fiction and non-fiction people.
You should have the freedom to do it.
You know?
We're creatives. That's what we do. We write stories.
Maybe we take things to heart too much.
Maybe let's address the insensitivity of something said.
Let's not address the research. Like, do your research before you write.
But even that, what is the thing that's upsetting you about what I said? Why do you need me to prove that I've researched it?
If I feel it's inaccurate, it's like, who gave you the
maybe
right
it's accurate for you, but it's accurate for me. So that's why I'm saying, can we address the things that we deem as insensitive and also own it as your perspective? Don't speak for the world. Don't say the world is upset that you said that. You know what I mean? I think it's a very sensitive thing, and as artists, especially in the creative industry, we have to be very critical about how we criticize each other. We need to understand that South Africa doesn't actually have a very formal way of critiquing writing. True. It's evident in many other countries, and you'll see people write books about books. You know? A lot of detail, and you can see with critiquing there's a lot of work that goes into it. But us, we just shoot from the mouth, and that mouth is just loaded with emotion, and I'm just like, no, we have to be a lot more responsible about handling something that she wrote. Whether she spent 20 minutes or 3 years, I don't know. It's her work, you know? So I think we should be very careful.
So you think we should get rid of that conversation of, oh, but you're not a woman, oh, but you're not this, you can't speak on that.
I think we should have a conversation about the insensitivity that is upsetting you.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's talk about the emotion or the thing that happened that doesn't sit well with you. Yeah. You can't tell people what they can and can't write about.
Speaking of writing our story, can you speak about My Time is a Rainbow?
Hey.
Oh, yes. Yeah, like I said.
By rainbow, you mean many languages. What is the rainbow?
It means that as well. I mean, you know, South Africa is regarded as the rainbow nation. But for me, like I said, you know, and it is just a colorful language. Mix masala, sipitori, but also to say, here is me, you know. It was, My Tongue is a Rainbow was also saying, my language, Sepedi being a dialect, it's a rainbow. It's a colorful thing, you know. And also the South African perspective of the rainbow nation. And also that after 26 years, people think that after the rainbow there's a treasure. So My Tongue is a rainbow, that whatever that I'm writing about my country, we are hoping for the treasures after, you know, behind the rainbow type of thing. So yeah, My Tongue is a rainbow.
Can I see?
For those of you who don't know what My Tongue is a rainbow is,
but yeah, My Tongue is a rainbow.
This is MoAfrika, Mokgathi's first book. This is her debut book that she put out, and she launched it in Washington DC.
Come on! How's about that?
We're actually gonna head into a poem from the book right now. I hope you guys enjoy it. When we come back, we play a young game. Stay tuned.
Naga iya swanaga iya swanaga naga iya swanaga. The city is burning down. Iya swanaga iya swanaga. The city is burning down. The city is burning down. When the men were burning, their wives' mouth became wood fire. Their hearts a growing dry forest ready to burn beyond recognition. The soil and our accomplice who had too much to drink with petrol the night before. Reborns are for those ready to breathe again. But we are dead here, in the hands of a lover. Patriarchy has clenched its fists, disguised as an intruder in toilet seats. Their hands are burning chimneys. There is no smoke without fire. We are burning here. Iya swana, iya swana, iswalorelore. Here, our third-degree burns recite their names like mantras. Autopsy found that these men have been breathing chlorine trioxide. But autopsy must be wrong. How can a soccer ball do so much harm? Protested their wives. But when the men were burning, their wives' mouth-breathed Khaleesi's dragons breathe out fire, burning their temples beyond recognition. We have been here before. Our hearts bend both ends, from flames extinguished with our lips, from smoke signals extinguished love. They have turned to ash, a cremation of love everlasting, reincarnating as love always. But in this village, love comes wrapped in blankets, warming caskets. Iya swanaga, iya swanaga, iya swanaga. The city is burning down. Naga, iya swanaga, iya swanaga, iya swanaga. The city is burning down. Lore lore.
That was a poem by MoAfrika, and I love that poem. I think the song sticks. I don't exactly understand where it's from, where it's cultured from, but for me, it just
Earworm
sticks. It really does. Okay, so we're gonna play our game, and this is a Hear My Voice versus Wouldn't Sound game.
Wow!
So we're gonna ask Mutinta words about questions about Hear My Voice, and we're gonna ask you questions about Word and Sound. And so
What is Word and Sound and what is Hear My Voice? For those of you that don't know, these are some of the biggest poetry houses that are currently running on our continent. Mutinta is behind Word and Sound, she's the behind the scenes running of it, and MoAfrika is a third co-founder of Hear My Voice. All
okay,
right.
so I'm
Yes,
gonna ask
Santi.
you.
Okay, oh my god. I'm dyslexic, by the way.
All right, so Mo, what's going to happen here? Here I have 5 questions
Okay.
about Hear My Voice. I mean, about Word and Sound.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to write down the answer. Mutinta's going to say the correct answer, and then we're going to see if you got the correct
So she mustn't see that board.
Oh, she doesn't matter if she sees it. She knows the answer.
I know that.
All right. Question 1. Who is the current reigning Word and Sound king of the mic?
Hey, I didn't watch it.
I'm going to say the one who won last year.
Last year.
Yes, the one who's still king of the mic this year.
Oh, I think I know. Let me see. Let me see.
Something swipe.
All right.
All right.
Who is it?
Masai?
Wait, let me think about it. It's not a Mutinta Simelane. Not Jonathan. I keep saying Jonathan's stuck in my mind. Jonathan, you should be king of the mic. Oh my goodness.
5, 4.
No. 3. No.
Just
Sorry, ngwana.
Alright, question 2. Before Mutinta became the master of ceremonies at Word and Sound Digital Slam, who was the host of Word and sound slams.
Kagaza?
No, man.
Kagaza, it was no, but then it was Mutinta. Never.
Kagaza hasn't been in a minute.
It was actually even Bonga, no, but me.
Okay, question number 3. Which theatre did Word and Sound Slam move to in 2020?
2020.
Yeah, she's
Joburg Theatre.
Alright, question 4. What show between Word and Sound, a collaboration between Word and Sound and Cheeky Natives, took place at LT Bakery on Sundays where they reviewed books?
What? Say that again?
They had a show where they reviewed books, Cheeky Natives and Word and Sound, and
Yes.
they did LT Bakery on the 3rd Sunday.
My cat something.
Yeah.
The Word and Sound Live Literature Market.
Okay, we'll take that. Okay, and your last question. What is the name of the current movement to remove Xabisovili, and we're going to get you Xabisovili, from his number 1 seat at the Word and Sound Slam? What is the journey called?
The journey
To removing Xabiso.
dethroning.
Dethroning the king.
Already.
No, I'm saying, but we'll make this funny at least.
Show it to this camera, right?
Okay, question 1. What is the name of the Hear My Voice annual slam in Pretoria?
Man,
The annual
husband was
slam.
even a part of it.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was.
Guys, can you see how important things are? Hear my voice?
Yes.
Hear my voice?
In Pretoria.
You.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, very close.
Write
Yeah.
it down.
Say it out loud.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, question 2. What show takes place every Tuesday and Thursday on the Hear My Voice Facebook page?
Is it the poetry relief thing?
Yes.
Yes. Fun. It's a fun.
Poetry relief.
Okay.
Funny at least.
So you always see these faces popping in on the lives. Who are the 3 founders of Hear My Voice?
You are 12.
No, I checked the sass. I think she's got it all. She's gonna add the 4th person who hasn't signed yet.
Yeah, actually we are 4. Ask her.
People know who they
Is his
are.
name Felix or Flex?
Felix. That's who Felix is one of them.
Yes.
No, the reaction to Felix let me know.
Question 4. Before lockdown became a thing,
Yes.
which day of the week did Hear My Voice have an open mic show every month called Last Something? Which day of the week was it? Last what day?
No, I don't think it was Thursday. Was it Sunday?
We don't know.
I'm a mess.
What are you showing the people?
I'm so concerned. No.
Thursday. Last Thursday.
That was
Last Thursday.
Soweto Theatre. Don't they?
No, they also have a Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday.
Different cities. Different cities.
Okay, last question. Which American city does Hear My Voice have an exchange program with? She's so confident with this one.
She's writing too many letters. Though. Yeah, but she's writing too many letters.
MoAfrika, let us know.
Oh! She's killing it.
Oh, it's actually got an erase on the top.
Can we speak about Trans Africa Radio before we close off? This is where you have a fusion of jazz,
Yeah.
poetry, and music. You're also releasing an EP, When the Rain Comes.
When the Rain
When is the rain coming? And the name of this EP is from, or is it an album?
Well, I think the EP will be on hold. It's going to be an album, but it's on hold. I've been commissioned to do,
And to do Mamelodi to Mali.
Well, yes, the EP would be Mamelodi to Mali. That I'm putting it on the shelf for now.
Okay.
I'm being commissioned to do a poetry and jazz album. Super excited about that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm happy. It is quite an emotional thing for me because of like I'm reflecting on what Black people have went through and it has a whole lot of research going into that, and it's not just the things that I'm reading about, but it's the things that Black people have to live in that space. And so I'm reliving all of that on that. We are showing the world that it's possible to have a content from the continent.
I'm so happy you're shining lights on that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mutinta, what's in the woodworks?
Hey!
Besides you and your husband being so passionate about the youth and empowering the youth and giving them spaces and giving them investment, what else is it that you're working on? And please tell us about that as well.
Sure. I mean, I always have so much going on because I work in so many industries. So I think the one interesting thing is when people say I do this, that, and the other, certain things may be dormant while other things are active. In the numbing silence of uncertainty, where winds of rejection have blown too often, the nape of your neck, where the ribbon of insanity wraps itself so long you've forgotten that love is the frantic clutching onto fleeting forevers in the dying sunrise of your lover's eyes. It's building black love monuments in a land that has failed to see love survive. It's the boundless leap that no one comes out of alive. The guardians of this bliss, they gamble on us, counting skipped heartbeats as a point to the body for beating death again, deciphering the codes of speechless language recreate, amazed by our pursuit to transcend heartbreak. We're infinitely more than the body, more than the mind may suggest. We are believers, devout followers in the church of defying the odds, and believing through consistent loss that we are still worthy to stand breathless in the arms of your other. Listen to their heart and wonder how you chose me and I you in this forever. How you spell me back remembering each letter. Master the landmines in my chest. Sing morning songs to drown out my lonely. Still the wind so that you are the only thing I feel. You're tirelessly making me a beautiful thing. A transformation no one sees, but we both know is happening.
Summer days aren't so sentimental. Heavy traffic on the freeway, going nowhere but the deep end, yeah. Summer days are so rudimental. Just the other day we meant something. He turns around, now he's saying nothing, no. I'm getting tired of the way he picks and drops me, holds and leaves me high, whoa. Not anymore, no, no, no. Hangiti, loco ongi pakona manje. Hangiti, hangiti, jo. Hangiti, loco ongi pakona manje. Hangiti, hangigoti. Heavy days don't need your blame game. No time to play pretend to mend mistakes or validate. I've had better days to deal with your emotions, options wearing me down. Just the other day we meant something. He turns around, now he's saying nothing, no.